They fired him. 14 years after he handed Ford the most profitable car launch in American history, Henry Ford II called Lee Iacocca into his office and told him he just didn't like him. That was it. No scandal, no failure, no underperformance. Just a king, threatened by the man beneath him, removing him from the board. But here's what makes that moment so strange. The car Iacocca built, the one that generated billions, saved Ford's image, and created an entirely new segment of the American auto industry, almost never existed. Because for 2 full years, the most powerful people at Ford were actively trying to kill it. This is not a story about a visionary CEO who changed the world. This is a story about a mid-level executive who decided the people above him were wrong and started building a car he had no authority to build. To understand how dangerous that was, you need to understand what Ford looked like in 1960. Henry Ford II, known inside the building as the Deuce, ran the company like a feudal kingdom. You were loyal or you were gone. Dissent was not tolerated, risk was not rewarded, and every executive at Ford was still living in the shadow of one catastrophic mistake: the Edsel. Ford had launched it in 1957 with enormous fanfare. It cost the company roughly $350 million, and it failed so publicly, so completely, that it became a national symbol for corporate arrogance. The lesson every senior leader took from the Edsel was identical: do not experiment. Do not chase untested markets. Stay in the center and survive. Lee Iacocca looked at that lesson and reached the opposite conclusion. By 1960, Iacocca was vice president and general manager of Ford Division. Not because of his pedigree, because of results. His 56 for 56 campaign, offering a 1956 Ford for $56 a month, had moved more than 72,000 units across a single region in 3 months. That number got him promoted, and once he had the title, he started pushing for something that nobody in the building wanted to hear. He had seen the demographic data. The baby boom was coming of age. Millions of young Americans were entering the market, and they did not want their parents' cars. They wanted something that felt personal, sporty, theirs. Iacocca believed there was a gap between the family sedan and the pure sports car, and that Ford could own it entirely if it moved fast enough. He took that idea to Ford's leadership. They killed it on the spot. Robert McNamara, who ran Ford's car and truck group before departing to serve as Secretary of Defense, had championed the conservative Falcon Compact and had no appetite for a youth-oriented sporty car. The finance department's default position on any new model was to calculate the development cost and reject it. And Henry Ford II, still scarred from the Edsel, was not interested in risk. Iacocca had a decision to make: accept the answer, or find a way around it. He found a way around it. If the company wouldn't approve a new car, he wouldn't build a new car. He would take one that already existed and transform it. The Falcon platform, already engineered, already paid for, was sitting in Ford's inventory. Its wheelbase, suspension, and underlying architecture could be adapted into something entirely different. By using the Falcon as the foundation, Iacocca cut the projected development cost from hundreds of millions down to roughly $75 million. He didn't make the project safe. He made it small enough that the people who wanted to kill it couldn't justify the fight. That was not a workaround. That was a move designed to outmaneuver an entire executive structure without technically breaking a single rule. But the pitch still had to survive Henry Ford II. And Iacocca knew a memo wasn't going to do it. The argument had to be physical, undeniable. So his team, designers Joe Oros and Gail Halderman, product planner Donald Frey, built a prototype, fast. In August 1962, Ford unveiled the Mustang 1 concept at the United States Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. It was a 2-seat mid-engine roadster, striking, aggressive, unlike anything Ford had shown in years. Racing driver Dan Gurney reportedly jumped in and drove it around the circuit on impulse. The crowd reaction was immediate, loud, visceral. Iacocca saw it. He understood exactly what it meant. This wasn't a concept car anymore. This was leverage. He went back into the building and pushed harder than ever. His proposal was precise. The production car would seat 4 passengers. It would sell for under $2,500. A deep menu of options, performance packages, interior upgrades, visual add-ons, would drive real transaction prices far above that base number while keeping the advertised figure aggressive enough to pull in younger buyers. He called it the 4-seat floor shift bucket seat formula. He labeled it a sporty car, not a sports car. That single word choice affected insurance classifications, market positioning, and internal approval politics simultaneously. Ford II gave a conditional green light, but Iacocca knew a conditional approval inside a resistant bureaucracy could be reversed overnight, so he moved fast. He compressed the development timeline to 18 months. The industry standard was 3 to 4 years. His engineers told him the schedule was too aggressive. He pushed forward anyway, because Iacocca understood something that most executives never figure out. Inside a large organization, momentum is protection. The further a project moves through development, the more expensive it becomes to cancel. The harder it becomes to justify killing it. Iacocca wasn't just building a car. He was building a situation that Ford couldn't walk back from. April 17th, 1964. The Mustang debuted simultaneously at the World's Fair in New York and on the covers of both Time and Newsweek on the same day. No car had ever achieved dual cover placement before. Ford dealerships across the country received their first units that same morning. What followed was not a product launch. It was a breakdown of normal human behavior. Dealerships were overwhelmed within hours. One Texas dealer locked the showroom and auctioned the only car on the floor because he couldn't control the crowd. A Chicago dealer found customers sleeping inside the Mustang overnight, refusing to leave without a purchase commitment. 15 buyers showed up for the same vehicle in one location and wouldn't back down. People were putting deposits on cars that hadn't been manufactured yet. The demand wasn't enthusiasm. It was something closer to desperation. Ford had projected 100,000 units in the first year. They sold 418,812. The car paid back its entire development cost in 3 months. The Mustang didn't just win, it created a category. The pony car, affordable, sporty, personal, 4 seats, became one of the defining segments in American automotive history. General Motors panicked and accelerated the Camaro, which didn't reach dealers until 1967. Chrysler rushed the Plymouth Barracuda to market. It technically beat the Mustang by 2 weeks. Almost no one remembers that. The competitors had cars. Iacocca had a moment. And moments once lost don't come back. What gets buried in the success story is how thin the margins actually were. Every major decision Iacocca made looked reckless from the inside. The borrowed platform was considered insufficiently sporty. The price point made finance nervous. The compressed timeline alarmed engineers. The demographic research that the entire bet depended on was not universally accepted. Any one of those calls, made wrong or timed poorly, ends his career. The Edsel had destroyed careers. There was no obvious reason Iacocca would be different. He was different because he never gave the resistance time to organize. He built the prototype before the approval process could solidify. He reframed the car in financial language the gatekeepers couldn't easily reject. He turned the concept debut into a public spectacle that made cancellation politically costly. He ran the clock down on every window where the project could have been stopped. He didn't ask for permission. He created conditions where saying no became harder than saying yes. In 1978, Ford II fired him anyway. No performance failure, no scandal, just a quiet meeting and a dismissal driven by ego, by a chairman who had watched this man's reputation grow too large to tolerate. Iacocca walked out of Ford, went to Chrysler, and saved that company from bankruptcy in one of the most dramatic corporate turnarounds in American history. But the Mustang is the one that tells you who he really was. He had no authority to build it. He built it anyway. He had no approved budget. He engineered one. He had no timeline that anyone believed in. He ran it anyway and dared the organization to stop him. Inside a system built to prevent exactly this kind of move, he found every gap, every angle, every lever, and he pulled them all before the doors could close. The most successful car launch in American history was an act of defiance dressed up as a business proposal. And the man who made it happen got fired for being too good at his job. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time on Torque City.